There are a few things that have been added into Tarkov yesterday, and today I wanted to cover what these are. Of course, you can get your hands on some pretty decent stuff for Escape from Tarkov PVE mode, and we're going to cover those in today's video. So the first things first, the AK.50 is now actually available within the game, and this starts off with a quest called Hobby Club, and then it leads on to Fair Price Part 1 and Fair Price Part 2. Hobby Club is the first one. Currently don't know what the requirements are to actually unlock the quest, but if you've been playing PvE for a while, you've done a lot of the quests already, this thing is probably going to already be unlocked for you to actually complete. It could just be a simple level requirement in order for you to actually obtain the quest itself, and it is not connected to a previous quest line that you might have already done. Don't know that for sure, but we'll kind of get the gist of that as time goes on. But essentially, the AK-50 is a sniper rifle, a 50 BMG sniper rifle, and is probably going to be one of the big ones for you guys who are a big fan of course, Brandon Herrera and the AK guy, AK-50, 50 BMG sniper rifle, of course coming with a 10 round magazine as the rewards for the first bit of the quest. But this does not actually account for the fact that you can't just go ahead and buy the rifle itself. You have to essentially go through this whole quest line and then you can possibly unlock it. But it looks like the first one, you're going to have to go ahead and recover all of the different parts of the weapon itself on various different maps. So you've got Reserve, where you get the AK-50 barrel. You've got the AK-50 dust cover on Tarkov security checkpoints. And then you've got AK-50 body at specified spot on customs. And so if we go down, you've also then got the handguard barrel and dust cover on specified spots on customs as well. So once you do that, you get all of this sort of stuff. You actually get the unlock for the muzzle brake and all of these handguards and stuff like that. And then this quest then leads on to Fair Price Part 1, which will give you, well, you basically hand over 50,000 euros in order to complete this quest. So it's a very simple one once you've actually got the first bit done. And then it comes on to Fair Price Part 2, which I do believe the reward will be the unlock of just being able to purchase the AK-50. Don't know that for sure. I haven't done it because we've reset the account. I don't even think we have access to this quest line at the moment, but you have to complete the task Hobby Club and then locating stash spot and getting a handguard at the old sawmill on woods, and then you can actually get your hands on the rewards, which is 3000 XP, and I do believe it will probably be the unlock for the actual bit. But the actual spawns, this is on woods, I believe. So upper wooden floors. So the old sawmill, not the new one. So this is like top right of the map, I believe. And then you've got possible spawn of AK-50 handguard in the big shack. So on top of the vice here. And then the last one is the handguard, which is near the radio as well. So there's another spot which you can find it. But once you've done all of that, you can complete this quest. And I do believe you are going to get the AK-50 unlock in the game. So you can actually test this one out, give it a go. And of course, let me know if you've used this thing. Have you completed all the quests already? But this is very big for PvE. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on this when we do manage to get through all of the tasks on the hardcore account, which you can follow live. We'll be live streaming semi-regularly, so probably like 3-4 days a week I want to commit to, and then of course all of the videos and stuff like that will be coming out alongside. And then there's a bit of a controversial one, which is that BSG decided that they would remove the ability for you to stack bags in order to create stash space within your stash itself. So previously you could unlimited amounts of bags inside of bags to create stash space, which was really handy for when you're playing PvE. For example, you got lots of stuff. PvP less so, because you know you just generally don't have as long time to grind out and get so much gear. But what you could do is stack partisan bags inside of partisan bags, and then you would get slots of free space that you could use. They then went ahead and reduced the amount of containers you could put within one another to a maximum of 6, I believe now. So you can have like 6 things inside of each other. So like a backpack within a backpack within a backpack, blah, 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 all the way down to like 6 of them. And so now what they've done is they have removed that ability for you to just infinitely stack bags, and they've actually added in extra stash space, which Probably if you play PvP as well, because of the fact that you can't get yourself some of the top tier stuff, things like where you can get yourself what would you call them, like boxes and stuff like that, because they've limited how much of those boxes you can actually get within the hardcore wipe at the moment. It does mean that you are going to run out of stash space pretty darn quickly, and so they've now added in essentially extra stash space, another 28 lines of essentially stash space that you can get within your stash. I have already got this thing just purely because it's the main account. I play PvE. There's lots of need for extra stash space, and with the removal of the bags and stuff like that, it makes it even more annoying. So I went ahead and got it, but the problem is that lots of people very upset with the fact that they've introduced this, having removed either the ability to purchase boxes and stash places that you can actually store gear and items and whatever in the hardcore wipe on PvP at the moment. At the moment, that is, they will become unlocked later on down the line, meaning that you can basically pay to get an advantage over everyone else with regards to stocking up, stockpiling, that sort of stuff. Which is obviously generating BSG money because people are kind of pressured into trying to buy more stash space to solve the issue. Because if you have none of them, you can literally have 0 lines of extra stash space, and it is horrible to actually run with that. And so, yeah, this is something that is a bit controversial, but they did add it in. And then, yeah, it's going to be rather annoying, I think, for a lot of people. And this is mega expensive, by the way. It's costing €3 in order to essentially purchase 2 lines. So if you purchase 56 lines, it would cost you €84. That is more than a brand new AAA title game. Just for some stash space within this game, which is very expensive. And whilst you might have spent a lot of time on Tarkov and would be willing to spend that, it does put it into perspective. For me, I'm absolutely fine with doing that. I mean, I make videos, I make money off of the videos, and it's, you know, something that's going to help me out in the future. But for a lot of people, they're not making money off of playing the game. They're only losing money by playing the game. And this is definitely one of those things that I feel like didn't need to be in the game. Yeah, maybe they should have just come up with some better containers or something else that people could get within the actual game itself. But of course, it's generating BSG money. So I guess it's better than, you know, having an actual pay to win thing within the game that would affect the gameplay of the game. So, you know, it swings and roundabouts. It's not the worst thing in the world, as most people probably saying that it's the worst thing in the world or whatever. But at the same time, you know, it's not ideal because you would want to get this sort of stuff just in the game as it is, because it's really annoying when they kind of lock stuff behind paywalls that realistically you are going to need, so you have to pay money again. And remember, this isn't a free game, and a lot of people have purchased all of the top editions of Tarkov, so you know, now you're having to spend even more money on top of, like, if you paid for Unheard Edition on top of the £250 that it used to cost. I think it's like 200 now or whatever it is. And then, of course, on the EOD as well, which was like £150. And then they're whacking on another £80. And then if you want extra things like PVE, it's another £20. And soon you're racking into like the hundreds of pounds, hundreds of dollars, hundreds of euros to just simply play the game efficiently or just with like ease. Whereas a lot of the free games, yes, they have these sorts of things in them, but they are free. You're not having to spend £70 or £100 or £200 just to actually play the game in the first place, only to then find out that you need to get these things in order to make it easier for yourself. So yeah, that is definitely a bit of a fat L, I think, from my standpoint. They should have probably just expanded the general stash if they removed the ability to stack containers inside of each other. Why not do that? Because no one's going to complain at you that way. And of course, it would solve some issues as well. So just giving people an extra 15, 20 lines of their standard stash, whether you have the standard edition or the EOD Unheard or any of the in-between editions of Tarkov, I think that would have been a much better play. And then the final thing, whilst we're kind of covering the kind of latest updates, is that, well, obviously the PVE AI actually got updated recently where they'd spawn in various different locations. Now I've heard reports that people, if you transit on a BSG server, for example, to another map, that all of those PMCs are actually spawning much like they were within the transit system on the hardcore PvP wipe, where everyone is spawning within a very, very close spawn points. Like all of the spawn points around the transit are going to be filled with PMCs, AI PMCs that is. And so it's leading to lots of PMCs being directly nearby you when you do transit on a BSG server. I've not tested it on local, but that sort of thing. Obviously, if you're trying to farm PMCs, that could be a really good way of doing it. If you're trying to get PMCs on certain maps, something like Tarkov Shooter or Shooter Born in Heaven or something like that, it could be a way that you could farm it. For the moment, I'm sure that they'll come ahead and patch it or do something with it and change how it actually works, but there's some tips for you in that department, as well as the fact that now PMCs, because they spawn all over the map and when you come into contact with them, they've probably moved around the map a little bit more, have generally very good loot compared to what they previously had, which means that you can now actually get loot off PMCs in their backpacks. Same with scavs and this sort of thing. I don't know if the scavs are necessarily been affected by the latest change, but it seems like even they have more stuff within them. So maybe there were some kind of fixes to some systems that weren't working properly, where they weren't actually picking up stuff within the raids. But it is really, really useful to now actually check PMCs, because they genuinely have some of the better stuff within their backpacks that they've picked up along their route, and it can mean that you can save yourself a ton of time from going to different parts of the map. So definitely check your PMCs. That's all for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Of course, subscribe and like for more. And of course, thank you very much to all of the channel members that have supported me directly using the membership link down below. And I really do appreciate all of your support just by watching the video. So I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of the day. Goodbye.